Good evening. Over the past 6 or 7 years, I have delivered over 70 lectures on this research in Arabic. But tonight marks a new chapter where I share not only the findings, but the deeper journey behind them with a broader audience. My hope is that what has resonated in one language will now find meaning across another. So here we start the Mecca Bible. It all started at AUB, which was founded, as you know, in 1866 by Protestant missionaries, the eminent Daniel Bliss. He passed away in Beirut in 1916, and he's buried here. The first modern Old Testament translation to Arabic was completed in 1856. And this was new to Arabic speakers. It was started by Mr. and Mrs. Smith in Beirut. Mr. Smith, Eli Smith, passed away in Beirut in 1857, and he also is buried in Beirut, in Furnace Shabak. Then Cornelius Van Dyke, Dr. Cornelius Van Dyke, the pathology professor, took over to continue this mission. He also passed away in Beirut in 1895. He studied Arabic under the eminent Boutros al-Bustani and Sheikh Nasif al-Yaziji. When he finished his work, he gave it to Sheikh Yusuf al-Asir. He told him, I want you to give my text a religious tinge because you are well-versed in Arabic and in the language of the Quran. So in 1971, I joined AUB to study medicine. It was the first time I hold the Old Testament in my hand. Many of you have taken Cultural Studies 201. So in the fall of 1971, I was reading the Old Testament for the first time. What attracted my attention is that some historical events were hard to believe. And I raised this with my professor. Then he is still alive, as far as I know. And he said, well, the Bible is not a good source of history. We look at it as a book of ethics, above all. Unfortunately, I did not know how inaccurate this is until 1984, when I received a draft of a book that Professor Kamal Salibi, the chairman of the history department at AUB. And this book was published in 1986. Most of you are aware of. The Bible came from Arabia. I was fascinated by the topic because of my interest in history, Arabic, and religions. So I decided to do a parallel study to verify the hypothesis of Dr. Salibi. But as we usually do in science, you repeat the study, but with a different methodology, and you see if you can reach to the same conclusion. So I started a philologic, that is linguistic and anthropologic, based on environmental and cultural studies, instead of the onomastical basis on which Dr. Kamal Salibi based his theory. That is, similarity between names of cities and villages in the Old Testament and somewhere in Arabia. His hypothesis was that the events took place in Asir, which is southwest of Saudi Arabia. I did not meet Dr. Kamal Salibi until the summer of 2011. Unfortunately, 2 months before he passed away. And I asked him this question: what was the language of the scriptures, Dr. Salibi? So he puzzled, he looked at me as if he was saying, well, everybody knows it is biblical Hebrew. But I told him, you said the Bible came from Arabia. So how many languages were spoken in Arabia at the time of Moses? So he was more puzzled by my question. I said, how many languages, Dr. Salibi? He said, only one language. I said, and what it is? This is Arabia with all of its tribes. So they all spoke one language. And Dr. Salibi said, it is Arabic. I said, so why didn't you think that the Bible came from Arabia and it was in Arabic? He said, Dr. Mansour, what have you come to tell me today? I said, I will read to you Genesis 16 from Genesis 16, which is about the story of Sarah and Hagar. I said I will read it from square Aramaic, from a square Aramaic text. This will not be an interpretation, and this will not be a translation. I had by that time done a trilinear module. That is, if you remember the work of Champollion, who unveiled the reading of the hieroglyphics. Okay, so I did something similar. I transliterated the 22 square Aramaic text into a 22 Arabic text in one line. In a third line, I wrote the Arabic translation of Smith and Van Dyke. In the line in between, the second line, I said, if the Bible came of Arabia, if the language was Arabic, I will try to read it in full 28 Semitic letters and not in 22 Arabic, 22 square Aramaic letters. That is full 28 Semitic letters, and not limit myself to the 22 square Aramaic letters. So this is the module in Arabic for those of you who can read Arabic. The first line is Biblical Hebrew transliterated into Arabic. The third line is in good Arabic, the translation in good Arabic. This is from Van Dyke. And the second line was my reading. It read, وَسَارَ أنيسة أبرام لا ولدت له ولها شيخة مصرية واسمها هاجر. This is how I read it to Dr. Salibi. وتأمر سارة إلى أبراهام هنا عسرني هو من الولادة بوئ إلى شيختي أولا أبني منها. That is, I will have children from her. وسمع أبراهام لقول سارة. So I gave you just a 3-line sample, but my conclusion after how many years? Almost 30 years of work was that line 2, which was supposedly to be in Hebrew, was actually the Arabic of West Arabia of 3,500 years ago, the Arabic of ancient West Arabia. This was the final conclusion. So I read the whole chapter to Dr. Salibi and the audience. There were maybe 16 people present. I don't know if Dr. Mahmoud Shureh is with us this evening because he was present. With me, I took a map, a primitive map of Mecca, which was drawn by a Saudi by the name Rashid Sumbul. This was from maybe 90 years ago. With the help of the Orientalist Abdullah Filbi, he was able to draw it. And in this map, there are 3 sites, very interesting sites. Bi'r al-Burud, it says, if you can read it, and then it says Jabal al-Nur, Hira, within parentheses, and then in the center, Mecca. So in this chapter, I was able to prove to Dr. Salibi that Sarah was with Hagar and Abraham in Mecca. Sarah was not in Palestine. Everybody says that Hagar and Ishmael were in Mecca, and Sarah and Isaac were in Palestine. This is not the case if you read the texts properly. Bered is Ma al-Burud. This is the last caravan station coming from Kufa to Mecca, okay, on the Zubaydah track. And then Jabal Hira. Hira, everybody knows it is the mountain of light, the place where the first revelation was given to Muhammad, peace be upon him. And the third is Mecca, Kadesh. Kadesh is one of the 40 or so names of Mecca, as stated by the Mecca Muslim historians. So we have three sites mentioned in chapter 16 of the Old Testament of Genesis that prove that the events here were in Mecca and nowhere else. There is no Bered in Palestine, and there is no Hira in Palestine. And Kadesh, again, supposedly they say it is Jerusalem, but at that time, Jerusalem was not inhabited at the time of Abraham. Dr. Salibi said, I want to do a peer review. So please give me your papers and give me the map that is with you, and I will call on you later. So 40 days later, Dr. Shureh called me. He said, المعلم بده يشوفك. The master wants to see you. And in that visit, Dr. Salibi said, I endorse the methodology and the results, and your coordinates are better than mine, and I highly recommend that you complete this research and you have it published. He said to Mahmoud, please stay after him until the work is published. And he said to me, you are the one who will continue my work. This was 1 week before Dr. Salibi sadly passed away, unfortunately. I did not have the chance to discuss his second theory about the Jesus, which I had also worked on, but we can talk about this later. So the first book, At-Tawrat al-Hijaziyya, was published in January of 2020, 1 week before the COVID-19 lockdown. And I continued working on At-Turath al-Ma'thur, Old Heritage. It's in Arabic. All of it is in trilinear fashion. It covers the historical chapters of the Old Testament, 246 or 247 chapters in total. It's a large volume book of 1,200 pages, and it received the first award at the Beirut International Book Fair in December 2022. The award was given because the trilinear technique used in this book was a first in the Arabic literature, and because of a QR link which I made to the book, and it links you to a Google Earth project. This is the QR code present in the books, and if you have Google Earth on your iPhone, you can go through the QR code finder to enter to the project, the Mecca Bible project, Tawrat al-Hijaziyya. You can enter any site you read about in the books in English or Arabic, and it will give you a real-time location with the accurate coordinates. At-Tawrat al-Hijaziyya was a bestseller for 3 or 4 years, and At-Turath al-Ma'thur was a bestseller for the year 2023 on the Nil and Furat platform. So I was encouraged by many to write the theory and the findings in English, and this is what I did in 2023. The Mecca Bible was released in December of 2023. And what were, in short, the results of the study were that Palestine was not the promised land, and that the scriptures were of Arab origin, and that the Israelites were tribes of ancient Western Arabia, and that the majority stayed in Arabia, became Muslim 14 centuries ago, and today are among Saudi Arab nationals. The DNA genetic studies came on board lately, and according to modern DNA haplogroup studies, majority of Jews today are not of Israelite, but of Khazar, East European and North African origins. Another great support to Dr. Salibi's theory and my work. The Old Testament is simply the chronicles of ancient Arabia. So we have an Israelite era, which covers the timetable from the 19th till the 5th century before current era. And this era was in Arabia. This is the time of the prophets. All of the prophets were there. This is the area of West Arabia. This is the area of concern. This is the Holy Land, the true Holy Land of the first. We're not talking about the late Jewish and Christian era. We're talking about the Israelite era, covering the patriarchs, Abraham till Jacob, Joseph, Moses, David, Solomon, and all the minor prophets until the Babylonian exile. The Babylonian exile, according to At-Tabari, the most eminent Arab historian, was from Mecca to Babylon. And there's a Jewish era. This covers the time from the 5th century before current era till the 2nd century current era, at the time of which the diaspora started. And the stage of this era was, of course, Palestine. Okay, so Palestine was not the promised land. In the Mecca Bible, you can find more than 50 reasons illustrated why this is so. We have to doubt the geography and not the historicity of the scriptures. This is Zaif Herzog, one of the most important and famous Israeli archaeologists. And what he said, after 70 years of excavations, we found nothing. We did not come out of Egypt, and there was no Davidic, Solomonic empire on this land. Either the Old Testament is pure mythology, or we are in the wrong place. So they are in the wrong place. Where is the true place? We start with Adam, with the earthly paradise. When we think of the earthly paradise, you have to think of Arabia not as a desert, but as a savanna land following the last ice age, which ended 10,000 years ago. The land of Arabia was full of rivers, and it was a lush green savanna area. The great in the Bible, it says that the east of Eden, there was a river, an anonymous river. This is repeatedly referred to in the Old Testament, the river without a name. And it says in the earliest chapters, first chapters, that it had 4 branches. The 4 branches, to cut the long story short, were the valleys of Turba, Rania, Bisha, and Tathlith. They all merged into a single channel to form the river. This is area number 6 here, okay? So this is Turba, this is Rania, this is Bisha, and this is Tathlith, and this is the great old river. Now it is called Wadi ad-Dawasir. If you have lived in Arabia, you must have heard of ad-Dawasir and Wadi ad-Dawasir. This is the QR code. You can go inside the map of Saudi Arabia. These green spots are for locations mentioned in the book. Here along this line, this is Wadi ad-Dawasir, this is the Riyadh area, and this is the Holy Land. See how many sides there are? To the right side is Wadi ad-Dawasir when you magnify it on your laptop. We come to the area of Noah. Where and how? According to scholars, Arabia was the cradle of Semitism. It's unanimous. There is unanimity. Everybody agrees that Arabia was the cradle of Semitism. But did Sham or Sam really leave a fertile area to go to an arid land? Did they have this luxury? Leaving East Anatolia, the area between Turkey and Armenia today. This area is the headwater region of the Tigris and Euphrates, Dijla wal Furat. Who would leave such an area rich in water and go to the arid desert of Saudi Arabia today? The climate has not changed over the past 6,000 to 7,000 years, even 8,000 years, following the savanna area. The Ice Age ended. For 2,000 years, there was a savanna area, then the land became arid. So what we are interested is in the last 5,000 years. The Noah era is around 2,800 years before current era. The deluge was a local, not a universal event, because it doesn't appear in the annals of Egypt, Syria, India, or China. This is Arabia, arid Arabia. What happened? Why did the flood take place? We have the magnificent Al-Wa'ba crater. It is 3 kilometers in diameter, 380 meters deep. It is 250 kilometers northeast of Taif in Saudi Arabia. It erupted for 40 days. It is called in Al-Quran, it is called At-Tannur, which is the hole in the ground. Volcanic clouds with continuous rain. We had volcanic clouds with continuous rain for 40 days. And this, as we said, this was around 2,800 years before current era. This is the Al-Wa'ba crater. See how magnificent it is. It is a beautiful piece of nature. At that time, during this short era, the rain that took place filled the valleys of Arabia. In this area, central area here, a lake was formed. The lake extended from Taif in the west till Riyadh on the east. Now, Taif is 1,800 meters high and Riyadh is 600 meters high. Okay, look at the nature of Arabia. You have on the west here the mountainous range of Al-Hijaz, and see this snake-like huge mountain. It's called Al-Arid or Jabal Quwayk. This is where here on the right is where Wadi Ad-Dawasir is. It is more than 1,200 kilometers long. It extends from near Najran in the south to near Al-Qasim in the north. So a temporary lake took place in between. It later drained to Al-Qasim in the north, to the empty quarter in the south, and to the Wadi Nakhla north of Mecca in the west. Again, this is the same slide, but in color. These are the mountains of Al-Hijaz. Mecca is here. Taif is at the top of the mountains. This is the area of the lake. And this is the great Al-Arid mountain range. This is where Riyadh is. So this is an imaginary drawing of the ship of Noah. Actually, it was more or less like a float with logs tied with ropes. There were no nails at that time. Where was the docking place? It moved from west to east because water will drain from a high area to a low area. Taif, we said, is 1,800 meters high, and Riyadh is 600 meters high. So it moved from the west, from near Taif to the center, and it docked on Al-Arid, not Ararat. The proper reading of the word is not Ararat, it is Al-Arid. Okay, this is a beautiful picture. This is from the western part of Al-Arid near Riyadh, and you can see the place where the lake took place. This is the east part of the lake. Taking the picture from another side, this is again Al-Arid, but we are taking the picture here from the side of the lake. So the area, what is the area of Riyadh called? Yamama. What is Yamama? What does Yamama mean? The dove. Probably related to the dove of the name is very, very old. It is pre-Islamic. It could be well related to the dove of Noah. So the area of Yamama became the focus of repopulation of Arabia after it was destroyed by the flood. And these are the tribes that repopulated Arabia. Yamama in old times was called Aram. Aram in the old language, in the old Arabic language, it meant the highland of Arabia, of Arabian plateau. Aram is Najd and not Syria. This is how Najd looked for thousands of years. Forget about the buses and trucks that you see. This was taken 90 years ago, probably. But this is how Najd must have looked for thousands of years. So we have the early Semitic migrations from that area because, as we said, it is the cradle of Semitism. So the Akkadians migrated to the south of Mesopotamia, and the Arameans migrated to Syria and Upper Iraq. This was around 2,600 years before current era. In East Arabia, we have the old civilizations of the Idris clan, the Ad. Ad is Oz. You heard the story about the Wizard of Oz. It is taken from the Bible, Oz. Oz is Ad in Arabic, and Thamud. The first alphabet should be, the credit for the first alphabet, which is much older than the Phoenician alphabet, should be given to the Idris clan in Hayel. This was 2,500 years BCE, and especially in the Jubba. Jubba has the richest, is the richest place with inscriptions in all of Saudi Arabia. These are the Misnad or Old Thamudi inscriptions. This is how they looked, and it had two forms. It had the hard form, which they used for wall inscriptions, and it had a soft form used for writing on the skin of animals. Okay, this is for people who are interested. This is how it would look for, and it was of 28 characters, 28 characters, one drawing, one image for every spoken letter. Now, this is the Phoenician alphabet. The Phoenician alphabet is an innovation. It is a sophisticated innovation which came 1,000 years later, and it is an abridged form of the original Thamudi inscriptions. As you can see, the first letter is Alif. It represents the face, the head of an ox. And then Bet. Bet, it looks like the Beit, maybe the tent of a Bedouin. The third, curiously, this will tell you why the alphabet, the Phoenician or the old Aramaic alphabet was not invented in Lebanon. See what the name, how it looks. It is called Jamal. Jamal. It is Jim for Jamal. Okay, in a few minutes you will find out for yourself that it could not have been invented in Lebanon. This is the land of Oz. This is how it must have looked for thousands of years. And with the third civilization in East Arabia, we have the Thamud civilization. And here we have a new innovation on the screen, the domestication of the camel, which took place between 2200 and 2400 before current era. Okay, domestication of the camel. This opened up the caravan routes, the tracks for trade. This was in the second millennium BCE, but it happened after the immigration of the first Arameans. This is why they did not take the alphabet with them, and they did not make use of the domestication of the camel. Okay, the main two routes of a track of trade from the south near Eden. The goodies came from East Africa and from India. And the caravan routes went from Aden to near Najran, and then there was one arm that went to East Arabia and another one that went to West Arabia, to Mecca, Medina, and Tabuk. In the first millennium, this was extended to Mesopotamia, that is the caravan routes were extended to Mesopotamia, to Syria, and to Egypt. We come to the epoch, to the era of Abraham, the first patriarch. This was around 2000 years before current era. He was born not in the Ur of Chaldees, but in the Hayr of Khalides. The Hayr is now the south door of Riyadh, if you wish. It is on the way to Al-Kharj. Al-Kharj is the Aram Nahrain, the richest area in water. The Sih land of Kharj, south of Riyadh. Sih means the water flowing on top of the ground, like small rivers. The Chaldees came 12 centuries after Abraham. In the days of Abraham, there were no Chaldees. And 1,000 or 2,000 years ago, nobody knew this. We know this now because of the excavations and because of the advancement in the study of the history of the areas, but especially after interpreting the cuneiforms in Mesopotamia. And of course, from the writings of Herodotus. So the Chaldees came 12 centuries after Abraham in Babylon. We all are aware of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. With the patriarchs, if you read the Old Testament, there is a notable presence of camels. When they were planning, whenever they planned for a long journey, they used camels. The first mention of camels came with Misraim, which is Al-Misraim. It is in the plural form. It's not in Misr form, it's in Misraim. And Misraim was not Egypt. As most of you must have visited Egypt, most of you must have been on the Nile cruise and have visited the temples of the Nile. There are no wall images of camels in the Nile temples. I repeatedly asked the guides there. They said, sir, Egypt, we don't grow camels here. We get all of our camels from Sudan. So no camels. Even in Mesopotamia, the camel does not show in wall reliefs until the days of the Assyrians. This was also proven by William Foxwell Albright, an American archaeologist from Johns Hopkins, who came post-World War II. And curiously enough, he collected bones of animals from sites all over the Middle East. And he sent them to America for carbon-14 dating. So he said there is the dictum, the Albright dictum is that before the 11th century BC, no camels outside Arabia and East Africa were found. And therefore, in the days of Abraham, there were no camels in Iraq, Syria, or Egypt. This is another proof. This is the caravan routes. In Syria, the camel did not become a house livestock until the Roman era. Okay, the only country that has the camel on one of its national flags, this is the presidential flag of Eritrea. Later you will know the association between Misraim and Eritrea. This is Haran. It is said that when Abraham wanted to go to the Holy Land, God knows where the Holy Land was, he went through Haran. His father emigrated from Iraq to Haran, which is in East Turkey, and then he and Lot migrated to Palestine. This is what everybody was saying. Haran to Jordan is an 800-kilometer journey, a very long journey for women, children, and cattle. If you read Genesis 31, you would remember that Laban, the uncle of Jacob, overtook him in Gilad after a 7-day journey, which is a journey impossible to cover in 7 days from Turkey to Jordan. The route between Ur of Iraq and Palestine does not have to pass through East Anatolia. Why should, if really Abraham wanted to go to Palestine, why would he have to go through Turkey to reach Palestine? Actually, the point of origin for the immigration of Abraham was Khayran and not Haran. It was in Wadi Dawasir to Gilad. Gilad was southeast of Khurma, which is all in all a 350-kilometer journey. This is on the left side. This is the Wadi al-Dawasir, as we said, and this is east of, this is Gilad near Al-Khurma. Again, on the right side is the Wadi al-Dawasir. Where was the destination of Abraham? It was the Holy Land of Mecca, because the house of Allah was there from the days of Adam, whereas there were no holy places in Palestine at the time. Okay, this is the holy shrine, the Kaaba in Mecca. This is the Zamzam well. And now I will stop here to take questions and answers. I hope that you were not, you did not feel any boredom from my presentation. And if you are interested, we can continue. I have many more slides at a later event. We can continue this discussion.